Bloodtamper here, and welcome to another Let's Talk video. You know, ever since I've done these whole Bloodborne announcements and speculation videos, I've been kinda enjoying it. And today I wanted to fulfill something I've always wanted to do on this channel. You see, when I first started this channel nearly 5 years ago, I wanted to cover both 40k and play games. Well, since I've gotten to the groove and we now have 9th Ed upon us, I thought this was the perfect time to start. So, what do I think of 9th Ed, you may ask? Well, it is not the best edition, but it's not the worst. I kind of feel 9th Ed is like a cleanup edition where it's corrected some of the mistakes from 8th edition and gives a bit of a cleanup. Now, whether or not that's a good thing or not, we will have to wait. As you all know, the current, crisis that's going on, the global crisis that we have at this moment, has made it hard to get games. However, I have done some play testing with it, being the fact that I've got like nearly 10,000 worth of Marines and Knights and other armies to, test out some of the rules. And this is what I thought of these new rules. Now, let's start off with the first thing. Let's start off with the missions. Now, as you all know, there are several type missions. We've got Narrator, which is Crusader, which I kind of like that. It's pretty much a self-made campaign you can make, which is pretty good. But that's something I probably won't be doing. Now, as far as open play and match play. Now, open play for me is basically power, which, to be honest with you guys, I'm not a big fan of the power game. I'm not. That's one of the things I didn't like, was like, some of the missions I liked, but I couldn't play them unless I played power, and I've never been a fan of power. However, I've always been a fan of points, because at least with points, it made the game a little more fairer. And speaking of points, I do like the new few things they've done with it. First off, everyone fights on the same footing with CP. I was happy with this. Now, I have heard, the Horde players and certain types of armies are whinging about it because, they can't, get away with half their shenanigans. But come on, it's fair. I mean, you're going to get like all these powerful units and all these men, and I'm holding like a small elite unit, and I'm getting a little bit outnumbered by CP and firepower. So I think this is a way of a balancing act, which I kind of like it. It's a good balancing act. Also, the missions are also separate depending on how high you go. So that's kind of cool. And I also like the fact as well, all the missions are now tell you what you've got to do, where the objectives go, where you deploy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like the older edition where you could randomize where you are, but I kind of feel this was the best way. And also, the way GW is going about it, I think they're trying to pretty much deter gunline armies and soup armies, because with some of the new rules stating that if you're a fully battle-forged army, you'll get CP back. If you're a soup army, you're not going to get your points back, you're going to lose them. And if you become a Horde army and you spend to get loads of units, it's going to hurt you. And that's another thing I want to talk about as well, the whole force organization CP rule, where it is practically telling you what you can and cannot have. I'm happy as well they've now stopped the whole thing where, oh, I could put like 6 in a battalion instead of the normal 3 you're allowed, like the minimum 3. Now it's going, nope, once 3 hits, that's it, no more can go in a battalion, and 1 or 2 HQs, and that's it. So I do like that kind of aesthetic, saying, look, you can't just spam everything into one faction. You've either got to separate them, or you have to make it as it's meant to be. So I do like that to an extent. I mean, it will hurt some armies, I'm not going to lie, and it's going to hurt bigger battles as well, because it is going to be very tough. I mean, I don't know if they're going to release new rules on bigger battles, because I think the first we can go at the moment is 4,000. I do hope in the future they send out an FAQ saying, alright, if you go X amount of points, let's say 10,000, because I could do 10,000. If they could say, yeah, if you go to 10,000, you get 32 CP or something, just so you can fill the roster or something like that, which I would like to see. Or they might say, look, if you want to go big points, you'll have to spend I think it's 18 points or 12 points for CP for the maximum, which you gotta go through each of the CP lot. So I kind of see where this is going, and to be honest, I'm not too fussed, but it's gonna be interesting how this is all played. I mean, I also like the fact as well that in the match plays, in match play, you can't be tabled to win. It goes down to points, which is I kind of like that because I mean it stops like Horde army just blasting their way through down the battlefield, or a Gunline army just like blasting the living bejesus out of you. It goes down by points, and even if you get like tabled out, if you are end of the game, if you're tabled out, it ends right there and it goes by the points. So let's for example, if I get tabled out but I win in by 10 points, I win the game because, well, I won the match because you didn't get the points. So I kind of like that. That's kind of saying, you know, you to stop like ridiculously tabling, but you still have to do a bit of work. So I do like that to a degree. I mean, if you want to play a tabling kind of scenario, you'll be playing power game and open play, which to be honest with you, I like to with the narrative. I'm kind of intrigued by it, but to be honest with you, that's more for campaigns, which to be honest with you, I rarely do. I just play one-off games. Now, the one thing that GW is very heavily focusing on this edition, and I'm not a big fan of it, is pretty much the terrain thing. Now, don't get me wrong, some of the terrain does make sense. You know, if you fire, you know, into it, you're gonna get cover, or if you combat in very heavy terrain, you're gonna get a save because, you know, you're wielding in a very heavy, dense population. So it makes sense, but I also like the fact as well that the buildings can be used against you if you're in them. So I do like the fact that they've made it that way, but I don't like the fact they've been really heavily hitting on it. It really reminisces of the old, you know, fantasy where they were so high on the terrain, and it became more of a hindrance than a help, to be honest. But that's neither here or there. But if you were part of that era, but did the terrain help you or not during the fantasy era? Because I kind of thought that happened, but nevertheless, I mean, all the other rules and regulations, they're pretty much the same, which is good, so they didn't change too much. But the newest thing I felt was the most interesting one was the combat attrition rule. Now, for those who are unaware what the combat attrition rule is, it's basically if you fail a break test, like you fail your nerf test, only one runs away, and each person has to roll a dice, and if they roll a 1, they run away, and if they go below half of their starting strength, which is basically when they start the battle, they are pretty much going on a 2+, then they're like -2 or 1, and they're out of here. So I kind of like that. That's kind of you know, it makes it more like the lower your army gets, the more chance to run away. So that's kind of cool. I also like as well the whole what was it again? Ah yes, the new blast weapons. Finally, we've got weapons that can deal with Horde. The blast weapons. Now, it is true the blast weapons only work depending on how big the unit is, but it does give, you know, some weapons a little less, you know, randomization, but more along the lines of you're gonna have more hits. So I do like that. So that's kind of cool. I'm also liking, you know, some of the new like CPs we got in, like cut them down, or a way of sneaking out of combat without getting, you know, into too much trouble. So there is a lot of tactics they've put in. I also like as well the strategic reserve rule. I am quite happy with that, to be honest, because here's why. I remember when every time, if you don't get it by turn 3, you're dead. Now they've kind of pushed it back now to say, look, if you don't come out by turn 6, or by the time the battle ends, or by the time, you know, you've been wiped from the table, the class is dead. So I do like that. They've given you more room to maneuver, and the fact is that certain weapons have been given upgrades, such as flamers, which are now downright deadly. I mean, if you are carrying, like, say, this is a battle squad that has a lot of flamers, you're laughing your ass off if you walk that from a sideboard. And I also like the fact as well they state that you can move in with 6 and you've got to be 9 away from everyone else. So basically, similar to Deep Strike, but it's not Deep Strike. So we could see Auspex getting retuned to do that, or Auspex might not get used. So I kind of like that. It's giving more credence. But there was another thing I do love that they've changed. Give it a sec. Sorry about that, I had to have a drink. The other thing I like as well, that Overwatch now is a CP ability, not just like, oh, everyone gets it. Nope, it's a CP ability. Now I am aware that certain races have been given a little more free reign over, you know, fire and all that, like Overwatch, but I kind of like that it's now a CP ability, because it now pretty much forces you to make a choice. Do you either pay CP to have your players like safe from being, you know, shot to high hell, or do you take the risk and, you know, hope you survive it? I also like this as well, that they've also added as well, that if you choose Overwatch, you could choose two modes. You could either choose the one for firing or the one that makes you better in combat. So depending on what your unit is very good at, it really gives you more options to play with. So I do like that. That's a good plus in my view. Also, another one I liked, which I've also heard a lot of the Horde players have complained about, is coherency, where they've now stated that you've got to have one model's got to be within two models. I like that because that means it stops the whole Horde conga line. Because anyone who plays Horde, and you know you've probably done this in the past, you've done a conga line where you've like spread across the battlefield, and it's like you could just lose one or that. And to be honest, that was a bit annoying. But now that they've kind of took that away, now you've got within two, it really now means they're going to be a little bit slower. But at the same time, the Hordes are very hard to shift. Let's be honest. I also like the fact as well that now that all vehicles can now shoot in combat. That was a big thing, and to be honest, I like that because it makes sense. Because okay, they are -1 to hit when they're in combat, but let's be honest, if you've got someone like in front of you, like in front of your gun turrets, you're gonna shoot. You're not going to like not shoot. You're gonna fire your flamers or fire a las cannon at somebody's face and burn it off. Naturally, you're gonna do that. So I do like that. I do like that. I also like the fact as well about the terrain now. It's now Pacific, that the entire squad has to be in it. It's no longer like, oh, 1 or 2's not in. Like, if 1 or 2 is still poking out, they'll still get it. Nope. If they're not in, they die first. So basically, it's a way of saying, look, if they get spotted, they get killed. Also, I like the fact as well that commanders can now finally be targeted, which is something that I've always found as a bane in the last edition, where people would put a squad in the way. Like, for example, they put a squad in front of us, and I could see the commander clear as day, but because the squad nearby, I gotta shoot him. Now they've changed the rules with the commander, saying that if he's not within 3 of a unit, he can be targeted and shot at. So we could see a lot, and I mean a lot, of commanders now either being just backyard politicians, just stay in the back lines, just, you know, keep away from being sniped out to do buffs, or we'll see smash captains just hide behind like walls upon walls of men just to get his butt into the, you know, the fray. And also, I like the whole fact with combat, it's made combat now more prevalent, which is pretty good. And also, like I said about some of the missions, it's now forcing gunline armies to come out instead of sitting on their butts. They have to come out and fight. So yeah, I kind of like where Ninth is going, but there are some very questionable things I am a bit concerned about, and that is some of the armies. Now, as many of you will know recently, that they've announced that Chaos and Space Marines of all the Astartes will be getting 2 wounds each, and the Terminators will get 3 wounds. Apart from the Scouts and the Culties, they'll get 1 each, which, okay, that's fine. And I do like the fact that Melters are changing, and it's freaking terrifying, but I also find it terrifying when other armies like the Eldar and all that will get them eventually. But we have to wait and see when the new Space Marine Codex comes out, because I mean, I didn't buy the chapter approved because I knew, because of the current, you know, crisis. I had a friend who had it and I borrowed it and I had looked at it, and with the current crisis going on, there was no point in me getting it, so I had to read of it though. I did get a friend who had it and I had a read of it, and to be honest, it was quite intriguing how most of the models have gone up in price, but so the weapons have gone a little cheaper. So it's kind of a balancing act to saying, okay, your armies are getting, your units are getting more expensive, or your weapons will get cheaper as a bonus. So there are some questions, and with the sudden changes with Space Marines and Chaos Marines and all that, it's a question now is what changes are going to happen when the actual codexes come out, because I'm intrigued how this will come about. So that's my thoughts on, you know, 9th edition. Now, like I said, we probably won't know more about the Marines and all that until we actually get the proper codexes coming out, because that's what I want to cover before we go though. I do like the new format they're doing with the codexes, where they're going, right, each of the codex books are going to be a core book. Essentially, I'll use the Marines as an example. If you get the Space Marine Codex, basically they're saying that all these factions, the Blood Angels, the Wolves, the Death Watch, and all them get everything in this 15 book. You literally got it off the bat. The only thing they said is all your unique units will be in a supplement. I'm fine with that because one, you've got the actual book to play your army, and if you want the unique units of models, heroes, and Pacifics, then yeah, I think we'll be seeing a lot of these supplements for an army you might want. And I don't think they'll be like big books. I think they'll be like small, little tomes. Will be like probably like the old Armageddon Codex, the original one, if you remember that. You see, in the original Armageddon Codex, back in I think it was third edition, you had a small supplement book which was just 30 pages, and that was about the rules, the armies, and that was it. I think we'll probably get that. Like you'll have like the fluff of the army, the heroes, and the different factions of that group. That's what I believe will happen. So what do you think, guys? Do you think we'll be having more supplements of every army where like you get like a core book with all the rules of every faction, and then we get supplements of each book, like of each faction? What do you think? And what do you think of Ninth? Do you like Ninth? Do you hate Ninth? Give me a comments what you think of Ninth, because personally I think I like Ninth and I like some of the new changes and some new rules, but I won't know till a proper playtest in it once I get to face other people when this pandemic has been subated or sated, but unfortunately we don't know whenever that's going to happen. But yeah, I'll probably, once I get a chance to play against proper opponents, I'll let you know what I like playing it. But now that we've had a month of it, to be honest, I like what I've seen. I've liked some of the simulations I've played of it. So what do you think? Hey folks, that's it for this video. If you like the videos, please like, share, and subscribe, ring the dinner bell. I'll see you next time.